What's up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 12 in my 4th annual 31 Days of Horror. This is a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. Of course, this year we're focusing on the Universal Monsters box set. And continuing along, we have 1941's The Wolfman. After his brother dies, a young man returns to his hometown, coming from America, going back to his hometown, I believe, of Wales. There he reconnects with his father, who has a big estate, and the son is supposed to take over this estate eventually. He begins to make friends in the town, where he meets a lovely young woman by the name of Gwen. He is very persistent on asking her out. They discuss a little bit about the folklore around the town, werewolves and whatnot. He eventually convinces her to go out with her at this sort of gypsy festival that's going on in the marshlands. She accompanies him along with one of her friends named Jenny, in which they go to get their fortunes read. Jenny ends up being a target of a werewolf attack by a werewolf named Bella, who is played by Bela Lugosi, and she gets attacked in the marshlands, where Larry, our lead character, goes to save her. He kills the wolf but gets bit by the wolf in the process, thus turning him into a werewolf. He talks to the gypsy fortune teller, and she tells him about the full moon and how werewolves work. He is very reluctant at first. He does not believe in what he's hearing. Then he begins to be tortured by the werewolf curse, along with the rest of the town kind of trying to hunt down this wolf, this mysterious wolf. Larry's also linked to the murders, and that's pretty much your plot. Right away, I gotta say, man, this one was a blast. I had never seen The Wolfman before, but I knew the story, and I was really excited to see where this sort of werewolf genre really got its footing. And we already covered Werewolf in London, which is similar to this, but this is the much better story in my opinion. First of all, I just like the story a little bit more. Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, very, very good. I liked him as the Larry character. You really do feel for this guy. Even though he's going in and he's trying to swoop in and still a engaged woman, you still kind of are on his side in the whole situation, especially when he begins to look panicked and truly stressed out over the whole situation, guilty, and just, you get a sense that he's all by himself and his back's against the wall, and he just is so terrified of the situation, and the performance really bleeds out with all of those things I just listed. I also really like the gypsy sort of folklore about the werewolf. Maybe they kind of hammered it in a little bit too hard early on, where they really kind of mention they do a lot of foreshadowing with the folklore and the werewolves and stuff, maybe a little too much, and it almost comes off a little forced. But at the end of the day, I still did like that werewolves were a thing, and I like the folklore about them. The setting is really cool. I love the foggy marshland, where it's just fog and dead trees and this howling moonlight night. Looks really good. There's a lot of scenes that take place there. There's even a scene that's quite suspenseful, where you are really on Larry's side, as he is the Wolfman, and he kind of gets trapped, where you feel very sympathetic, but not in the way of Frankenstein, but more in the lines of a Norman Bates type character. This is probably one of my favorites of the Universal Monsters. I really did enjoy this one. It was a lot of fun, and I will say that the only other negative that I really have is, boy, did these Universal Monsters films just wrap up very rapidly. I mean, this whole film wraps up in a few minutes, and much like Frankenstein and Dracula, it's kind of shows you how far we've come and how different the structure of a story is, where like the third act is much more of a climax than it was back then, where it was just a kind of a wrap up. That's kind of a negative, but other than that, it's fantastic. I love the Wolfman. It's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed the Wolfman from start to finish. I was really involved into this one. I give the Wolfman a 9 out of 10. Solid stuff.